Hey, hey, good stuff, family. Tonight, I have a family for you that I promise I can guarantee that you're going to be inspired. Because if there's anything I know after all those years of news, especially and after the couple years that we've had, is that today's a gift. Today is a gift. I say it every chance I get. And when you realize what's important, this family has the McKee family. And there's a book coming out soon. So we have the great honor tonight to be able to have Vince McKee and his mama Maria, for whom the book is named. Hi guys.
Hey there.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks
So
for
the
having
book,
us.
what's that?
Thank you for having us tonight.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I'm glad you made the time because you're about to probably be hard to get because this book is called Fight Maria Fight. And this is his mama right there. Look, it's putting Vince McKee under your mama. That's hilarious. I'll just put this one up. So, Mama, would you start us at the beginning? Because I was reading, I feel like I know this family when you start to read this book. Would you do me a favor and give us an overall, Mama Maria, if you would? You had to be a fighter pretty much early on since you were a child, correct?
Correct.
Tell me a little bit about what that was, epilepsy and that journey, even through school.
Day one of my birth, I came into the world what they call a blue baby, a dead baby. Within a minute or so, within after birth, when they were cleaning me up, I started seizuring. This baby's alive, the nurse screamed. The cord wasn't cut. For some seconds into this world, I fought to be here. I was born on a very, very special day in my religion, which is the Assumption of our Blessed Mother in heaven, August 15th. And the Catholic believes you couldn't pick a better day than Christmas. As I was the third child, my parents' second daughter, grew up, didn't know anything was different yet. But as I got older, my body would go off into space that I couldn't explain to other people.
The doctors didn't even know much about
Doctors had no idea. They tried, at the point in time, my parents had 8 children. So when my seizures got worse, my parents had kids, and doctors tried to say, oh, lack of attention, or I was trying to get attention. Schools back then were not at all learned on illnesses like they are today. I literally went to summer school every grade for
And
12
kids
years.
were mean. Kids didn't understand it.
No,
Vince, I know that had to break your heart when you were writing about it. I could feel it. You know, having 2 daughters of your own now. Give me a window into what you wrote about what your mom early on, even as a child, had to be a fighter against.
Well, absolutely too, because that was very important to the entire story. Because what had happened in 2017 was not an isolated incident of having overcome something. So I just thought it was important to tell the story from the beginning of the different struggles my mom had. But like you said, having 2 daughters myself, especially school age, 5 years old and 8 years old, going to school, they're lucky enough to have a lot of friends and everything. But yeah, and just the thought of one of them, if they were ever to get picked on or God forbid, like have a seizure, I mean, something like that would tear me apart. So having to interview my mom and talk about those times and putting those words onto paper definitely wasn't easy. But if you're going to write something really good, it's not always easy. So it's worth it.
And I love how Fight Maria Fight, how that book, it keeps oscillating from the past to the present, the past to the present. I love this part. You said there was no escape this time with Mom. We were about to enter the gates of pure hell with no window in sight. It was a much different story this time too, because your brother, you guys were praying for your brother. My brother had never smoked a cigarette in a day in his life, and he was perfectly healthy before checking into the ICU. But your mama had all this struggle, seizures her whole life. She was running on pure stubbornness, you said.
Yep.
Stubbornness, grit, and determination. Things were about to get very interesting. So let's go ahead and go just to 2017. Okay. This day stands out in my mind as well. Easter 2017.
Yep.
Vince, I know you had a big gig that you were excited to be invited to downtown Cleveland. You're a sports reporter, and that was kind of that was an interesting day as well, probably history day.
Yeah.
But when you went to leave there, walk us through 2017 Easter, that awful day in Cleveland.
Oh, absolutely. So, social media is a great thing for many reasons, and it's also a terrible thing at times, as we've seen. You're just talking about bullying for one, but I'll never forget it. I was down there with Otto Orff, and I know a lot of Cleveland sports fans know who Otto is, doing the futsal tournament, and I remember walking out of there after it had been shut down because it was the Facebook killer. Some guy shot somebody and killed this old man on Facebook Live, and it was this real scary situation. It was just an awful day, and I remember getting home and being glad to see my wife, and the first thing, call my mom and dad to let them know I was okay, because they knew I was down there. And I heard her voice for like 10 seconds, and I knew something was bad, like something was wrong. So, I can look back and now kind of smile, but like I remember that day so clearly, thinking to myself, something bad's about to happen. Like you could almost sense, like, we got through that. I got through an unbelievable Easter Sunday, which I'll never forget, of just a lot of bad things happening, into, my goodness, like there's bad water on the way. So yeah, you just get the ominous feeling sometimes. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's pretty ridiculous that the entire stretch of everything that happened started that day.
Right. I remember I was reporting. I was actually anchoring because it was Easter. They called the B team in to anchor. And I thought it was going to be a cushy Easter day. And when it was going over the scanner, I was like, I'm sorry. Awful. I've come to know his daughter since then.
Oh,
and then when I'm reading the book, I'm remembering that day. But for you, you knew that your mama was so resilient. You knew that she wasn't feeling well. You remember Easter, right? 2017. Mama, give me a window. How you were feeling before you ended up in the hospital again?
I am as stubborn as the book says. In 1984, a miracle happened. I was cured of my brain surgery. I had brain surgery that cured me of those god-awful, horrible seizures of 100 grand moles a week. But I'm not a complainer. I don't tell anybody I'm sick. I hate doctors. I hate hospitals because that's been my life. So my doctors always say, you got to tell us when you don't feel good so we don't have to end up taking it out of you. I've lost many body parts because I don't complain.
Organs, you still have all the parts.
Well, organs.
Okay.
Wood, please.
I didn't feel good, but I didn't want to have to go to a hospital. I couldn't breathe. But that evening, blood started showing, and I turned to my husband. I says, I don't think it would be too smart to stay home. And he brought me there, and that's the last I remember. I sent him home to get, because they said you're going to have to stay the night. I sent him home to get my pillow. And I don't know the time span. Later, my nephew is like a son. He works through the hospital, and he came into the room and says, Aunt Rhea, you're going to need to be incubated. And I says, what's that? And he explained. And I says, no, let God take me. He says, no. He said, you've got to fight. And before I knew it, boom, I was gone. And he could tell the rest of the story until.
Well, the thing about it too, Dawn, is that, as we said, this was not our first time going through a ventilator situation. And this was years before the COVID, where a lot of people, normal Americans at that point, probably had no idea what a ventilator was. They probably thought it was something you put in your room for, more oxygen. But so unfortunately, like I was really familiar with the whole process from what happened with my brother Don. But just to kind of backtrack real quickly, when I had placed that call, and then the next day, when people read the first probably 2 chapters of this book, they probably think, my goodness, this kid was only worried about who was going to babysit his kids the next day. But truly, I really thought like she was going to bounce back in about 12 to 24 hours. I didn't see what in the world we were in for. I had a sense, but I was like, it's my mom. Like, she'll be back by Tuesday. But by me putting my focus where I needed to be, who was going to watch the girls, what was I going to do about work, all those things, kind of allowed me to distract my focus from the pretty horrible thing going on. And I just wanted to point that out because I know people are going to read the first couple chapters of the book and be like, did he not only care about his babysitter? Did he care about his mom? Like, yes, it was my way of distracting some of the pain.
I loved it though, because your writing was so vivid, and that the girls, when you left, you were so wanted to make sure that they knew you were coming home. It was very vivid how they loved it. I knew instantly that your family is the good stuff kind of family. And then you read where you came from Mama. And you know what, you guys, also my sympathies and condolences on losing Grandpa for you, Vince, and your Papa. Maria, I know just a couple. Yeah, your Papa just a couple days ago, right?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I don't know why the printer is going off. Hopefully it won't take long. One moment, please.
No problem.
Anyway, yeah, so I could tell in this book, and then the more the layers that you get into, this is the takeaway. Today is a gift in family. Well, faith family for you guys, faith and family. So your brother Don had a near-death experience too. What was it, meningitis?
No, it was actually swine flu before.
No, it was the N1, N2, swine, flu that came around.
Yeah.
And there was no guarantee he was going to live through that.
We didn't think he was. Basically, It was in 2009. It was brand new. Right around the same time here. It was Thanksgiving time of 2009.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it was right over Thanksgiving week.
It was the day before Thanksgiving that year.
It was horrible. So we were actually in North Carolina where he lives, thinking we were going to say goodbye to him. Like we just said goodbye to my grandpa. It's unbelievable. So after that, it happened once and we got a miracle. I mean, this family is chock full of them. It's unbelievable. Like we've had 2 already where people have come off of ventilators where no one saw it happening. My brother and then my mom. Not to bring that another story, but she's sitting here, so I'm sure you'd figure out that she made it. But yeah, unbelievable.
I made it through. I don't know how many countless surgeries that I shouldn't be here. I really shouldn't be here. But God, there's a reason. And the reason was shown to me during what I just went through.
Tell me more, Mama. Tell me more.
Like when you're laying in a coma, you don't know what's going on. You don't know where you're at. I heard voices. They echo, and they're not pleasant, because the last word of something somebody says just keeps on going. And you can't answer somebody. My son, my other son, my husband, don't die, don't die. Why are you saying don't die? Why is everybody telling me to fight when I hear a lot of times, Maria, quit fighting? Where's your faith? And I'm thinking, none of that made sense laying there.
Yeah.
I don't know time span. All I know, at one point, I have a very, 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 very close friend who's a priest from India.
Yep.
A missionary. Has been blessed with me for 43 years as his friend. I do know he was at my bedside more than not. Mm-hmm. At one point, my body walked that tunnel.
Yeah.
I saw me in that bed and I saw my family crying. But next to me his name is Father Joseph Pendekar. He was holding my hand walking that tunnel. I saw my sister Josephine, who passed before me. My brother Pete kept on saying, "Oh, Maria, you're going to love it up here. It's great." My sister kept on saying, "Fight, Maria, fight. Mom and Dad can't lose another child." And we walked further. And then I saw the most beautiful thing I ever saw in my life, the Blessed Mother Mary. And she says, "Maria, I'm proud of you and everything you have done for my son." This Father Joe calls her Mama. He says, "Mama, are you taking our Maria?" And she never looked at him and she just said no. And my body literally, like you see in movies and everything else, boom, back to that bed. Gone, nothing else. Now, my family has told me every time he stood over the bed and prayed, now he's a dark-skinned man from India, he would literally turn translucent and speak in tongues.
Yeah.
And he would, so as time went on, of course, I have no idea what's going on. And I guess it's when they took everything off of me.
Yep.
And I went again.
Yep.
And this time it was such a force coming out of me. And Father was with me again. My sister and brother didn't say nothing. They just grabbed my hands and Father's hands. We walked, and this time I was past the gates of heaven with the Blessed Mother. And Father said, Mama, are you taking Maria? This time she turned to him and she says, I told you no, Joseph. And from that
He was a mama with the finger then.
I said, but I want to be with you. She says, I told you before, you've got more work to do for my son.
What do you do with that, Maria? What do you do with that when you have a second chance like that? A sentence or two, how that changed your life since then?
You know what? I always had this strong faith. That's why I did so much for my church. And not only the Catholic Church, but every other religion. You can find Maria helping. My goal in life was to help, to do things for the poor and the needy. And that's Maria. I wasn't born with beauty. I wasn't born with college. I'm a hell of a cook. I'm a beautician. And I just wanted to be the best grandma my granddaughters could have.
And she is.
And
she is.
That's all I can say. I'm you either love me or I kind of scare you because you can't. Some people can't handle me because of who I am. I'm spiritual, but I'm fun. A few months prior of getting sick, and it might be the reason that I got so sick, is me and my girlfriends were hot tubbing one night just at my friend's house. And I had just found out that week that the nastiest teacher all three of us had in high school lived in her development.
Okay.
So about 3:00 in the morning, I said, you guys want to go TP some houses? Now, this is 3 60-year-old women. We go,
Is
what?
this story in the book, Vince?
No.
Okay.
I said, come on, we're going to have some fun. Now, this is December 7th. It's cold. It was snowing. We all got out with our canes. We put the toilet paper around the thing, and I said, come on. And this mean teacher, he's in his 90s, okay? We TP'd his bushes. Jumped back in our car, back to her house, and jumped in the hot tub. So I'm not a holy roller. I'm not a saint. I like to have fun.
Do you know how many parents wish that was the worst nowadays that their kids did?
Yeah.
Yes.
But Vince, I know when you talked about your mama in this book, I felt like I knew her. She
Thank you.
So molded you. I love the part about when she got busted speeding a 44.
Oh, the blackmailer.
You are a rebel, mama. 44 and a 35 or something?
25.
Oh, 25.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even going that fast. It was just that cop. And he didn't help it because he argued with the cop in the backseat. I'm like, okay, you know.
But he kept reminding, Vince, tell us, you kept reminding her. In those
I held it as blackmail for a few weeks there.
I had just gotten, I was right before, through my church, I got to go and see John Paul II in Denver for World Youth Day.
That's true.
27 hours. I just came home on a bus ride of 2 weeks of walking and walking and walking. And that night I was exhausted. And he says, Mom, I sure could go for a Dairy Queen. And I says, well, maybe tomorrow. He says, but 44, 25, 44, 25.
Yeah, 44. He kept bringing it up, that number.
Yeah. The other thing too, though, like, if I could just joke for a second and be honest, like, so we have that kind of relationship.
Yes.
There's a story in the book about, me setting 6 different alarm clocks in the room to go off at 15-minute intervals on a night when I knew I wasn't going to be home. I was visiting a friend at college. So I knew she was going to be angry, but I knew I could still come home. So like, it's just, we had that kind of relationship. The one thing too, I just wanted to circle back real quick. When she was talking about being in the coma like thing, the comatose state they put you in when you're on a ventilator, I knew she could hear me. So as everybody was sweet talking her and saying, Maria, don't leave us, and this, that, and the other, and talking real gentle. When everybody was out of the room, I raised some hell. So, I got nose to nose like an umpire with her and said, enough of this, let's go. And like, that's just kind of how we are. It's like a tough love, but it's a good love. So that's just, I think in the end, that's what really made it. Plus I knew, I have a good friend who's a pharmacist who went to medical school. He was able to tell me some things. He's married to another pharmacist. They were able to help me along the way. Dave Murphy, I want to give him a shout out there. Yeah. But those were some of the people that said, hey, she could hear you. Tell her this, tell her that. And that's just the way I was going to be. I knew, like, again, the book is called Fight, Maria, Fight for a reason because.
Hold it up, will you a little closer so people.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So basically.
There it is. Yep.
My whole entire mission, the entire time, was to fight. Because if she was going to pass away, everybody was going to be sad for a long time. And I knew that. So I wanted to say, hey, look, if people are going to be sad, they're going to be sad in 2 weeks. They're not going to be sad tonight. Tonight, what they're going to be is hopeful, inspired, and motivated. And that's how we're going to win this battle. As a coach and a player and a sports writer, all I know is, points, touchdowns, baskets, all that stuff. So she wasn't going to lose. My dad will tell you I'm the most competitive human being you're ever going to meet. The people I work with will tell you that too. So it's just how I looked at everything. She wasn't over my dead body. She wasn't going to lose. That's all there was to it.
See, I never got to hold my Vince as a baby.
True.
And know him until he was 18 months old.
Because of the epilepsy.
Well, because of the epilepsy and pregnancy with him at 7 months, my appendix decided to go. So they took him as they took the appendix, and I fought to stay alive to see my baby, but I never knew him until he was 18 months old. So any of you mothers out there, when they say the first 2 years of your baby's life is the most important, believe me, it is. First time when I came home, it was a good 2 years before I got to connect with him. They says, this is your mom. Now, I had all these brothers and sisters, the best parents in the world. And they spoiled and they did everything because they never knew whether he was going to see his mother again.
This family is tight.
And they didn't know whether he was going to see my older son, who only was 4, going through all that. How many times he stood over me when I was grand malling.
Grand mal seizure. Yeah.
You don't. Every time I had grand malls, anytime I had the petty malls, I wet myself.
Yep. And then school kids would make fun of you. I mean,
that was my teacher in grade school. My teachers in grade school when I'd have them, they literally would sit me in the corner and put a dunce cap on my head and write my name across the board and to ask the kids, who's the dummy today? And the children would yell Maria because they had no knowledge. It wasn't until the 7th grade I was put in slow learning classes. Today they would call them special need. I sat in a class and I would go off and do these little things or jerk or whatever. This teacher saw something. He lost his brother who died of epilepsy. He was the first person to hit on it. But I had a horrible doctor all my life. When I was a kid, you were raised, whatever an adult tells you, you do. Every visit, that man sexually molested me every visit.
No. And that's what you wrote about a little bit in your book too, Vince, and that he didn't have any hope for you. You're never going to this, you're never going to that.
No, everything was no.
Right.
And no man is going to love you. Nobody. When I did meet my husband, my boyfriend, who became my husband, we just celebrated 45 years.
Come on, I didn't know that.
Yes, 45 years. Yeah. And he did not meet him. When I got pregnant, he wanted to abort that first baby.
The doctor.
The doctor.
Yeah, I knew that's what you meant. Okay. Well, here's the thing. In reading that book, there's so many. I'm a huge advocate for our friends who are differently able. And I've even said, like our Downs friends, wouldn't it be nice if the whole world, especially now, had a touch of Downs, right? Wouldn't it be nice? We work harder, we hug harder, we forgive. But in this case, you were, like Vince wrote in the book, you had every mental capacity but they didn't understand this physical seizures that you were
No.
having, and so they just pushed you aside. So I learned from this book, I learned more about that too, about how really lucky we are now in that we cherish our people, our friends who are differently able. Yeah.
In my case, as the doctors will tell you, I'm not normal. Nothing in my organs or in my body have been in the right place or functioning the right way. They just found out during this last episode I don't have a main artery to my heart to my groin. I never was born with a gallbladder. I had a half a thyroid, no pituitary gland. I shouldn't be here, but God put me here for a reason.
Thank you. Thank you.
Reason.
Thank you. Just drop the mic right there, Mama.
It reminds me of Mrs. Potato Head. All the different parts.
Yeah, it's like that's what it says. Oh God, what are they going to take out of me now?
And to Dawn, if I could just say, so the entire purpose there too was, especially her and my dad. I wish my dad was here, but they fought to have me and my brother. So she was taught like crazy, you can't have kids. So she risked her life, and so did my dad. My dad could have been a widow, right? So they risked a lot to have me, and I knew that in the back of my mind too. When she was going through everything, and we thought she was gonna, well, a lot of other people thought she was gonna die. I was like, you know what? She fought for me to be alive as a baby. If she didn't, I wouldn't even be here. So I need to return the favor. I really need a babysitter for my kids. So again, I'm teasing, but it all worked out because
they loved their grandma. I saw this picture.
Dawn, they put me in a hospice because they thought I would die.
I knew that wasn't happening. Once she got off the vent, I was positive, and I would say to everybody out there, when you get this book, it's available in a couple days here. Come to the book signing, but make sure you don't skip any of it. But chapter 9 to me is the most important part, and chapter 9 and chapter 10 truly is the climax. She mentioned Father Joe Pentecar. I wanted to point this out as well. He did two really specific prayers. One, she was on the vent about a week or so, maybe 10 days. He came in and he did the standard anointing of the sick. In English, we could all understand what he was saying, clear as day. When she came off the vent and coded, and then they had a rush to put her back on, and that's when she was dead for 17 minutes, and they finally got her back going again with the no brain waves and the heartbeat and all that stuff. He came in again, Father Joe Pentecar, and to me, this is my favorite part of the entire book. And I was shaking. They talk about adrenaline with athletes. Sometimes you just shake. You have so much of it. I will never forget this moment as long as I live. I was shaking when it happened. I was shaking when I wrote about it. I'm kind of shaking now. He came in, and that's when he did this thing. And it was me and my brother and my dad were the only ones in the room with Mom. And he leaned over her. He spoke in a completely different language I've never heard before or after. He got real close to her, said whatever he said, looked up, looked at us, and left. And it was about within 30 minutes, she came back to life. So whatever that man said over her worked. And when she says that she saw him in the tunnel, I believe her 110% because everything lines up perfectly.
And the thing
Suffice to say, you all believe in miracles.
Yes.
When I came out of everything and they were telling me this and that, I thought, did I dream what I dreamt, seeing the Blessed Mother? Then Father came into the room. Now, he was a priest at that time for 65 years. Always missionary, poor and hungry, but sitting at the bedside of the dying. That was his mission, to pray and pray with them. He came in the room and he said to me, your new name is Lazarus. He says, nobody has ever brought me to Mary but you. Lazarus, Jesus brought back to life.
This is heavy stuff. And I know that faith is the glue that holds this family together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I knew then that what I saw wasn't a dream. It was true because there was a person that was with me that said it. So my new name now, God bless him, he has Alzheimer's. And the saddest thing is that he has no idea who he is. But when I have gone to visit him, he don't know me by Maria. He don't know me by the Blessed Mother. He only knows me as Lazarus. And
Go ahead, Dawn.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is what I keep thinking. Purpose-driven lives. If we get 11 years, I was at a 4-year-old's funeral, an 11-year-old's funeral. It took 3 hours to get up to those parents. Kathy as well, Colin Nemeth, because he was so beloved and he spoke to so many people about faith and things we don't understand, you all, right now. Why does an 11-year-old have a brain tumor and has to go early? The 4-year-old Ella, I don't get it. We have so many questions, but I think this is the point of what I try to share. A purpose-driven life. Whatever amount, whatever your dash is, make it count. So for you, Maria, to come back from everything by medical standards that said you were done, and to speak boldly on your faith, your Catholicism, this is faith in real life, right? And I have goosebumps. I mean, thank goodness that Vince wrote the book, right? And I hope that it gets shared exponentially. I hope people sit and ask themselves, all right, so if I don't get asked to come within an inch of my own life, what would I do if that happened? But if I don't have to go through that, how about today? I'm talking to myself here, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself. Let's get on with it already, to see the good and be the good.
Well, and too, Dawn, I gotta say, and I want to thank you again. After it happened, first of all, with whatever happened with my brother and what he went through, it was hard to get past that. At the time, though,
it was very hard for him.
Yeah. At the time, I was living by myself. I was engaged, but I didn't live with my wife or anything like that. So I came home every day and I was alone, and it was just hard to grasp. This time around, being there and seeing everything and being kind of the leader of this whole Fight Maria Fight thing that I created at the time, people told me right away, like when she made it, a couple days out of hospice, when they were like, wow, we're going to send this woman home. Like, first of all, I was like, I told you so. But like, second of all, I was like, I never want to think about this again. But then people were like, hey, you need to write this down. I don't think people are ever going to believe this. And as the years went on and I would meet people and I would try to explain to them this story, everybody was like, wow, that sounds impossible. That's like a miracle. You should write it down. So eventually I was like, you know what? Because we learned with my grandpa, right? Like nothing's to be counted on. You can be the strongest person one day and you're gone the next. And like you said, with a 4-year-old and an 11-year-old, like that breaks my heart. Like, I want to believe, having 2 kids myself, like nothing is counted on, nothing is given. And I knew, like, hey, if this is going to be the last thing I ever write, people need to hear this story to understand that, and again, it can happen to anybody. We're Joe Blow. My mom said she was in a hot tub. I guarantee that's probably the first hot tub in her entire life.
First time in my life.
So we grew up. We had faith and we had dinner every night, and that was about it. Like, we were not rich people. We didn't have much. But
I was 8 kids.
Right.
Growing up, my father says, I'm a millionaire. And his kids would go, yeah, sure. We got 2 bikes amongst us. This and that. When he held his first grandchild, he says, I'm a billionaire.
Oh.
When he held his first great-grandchild, he says, I am the richest man in the world. And he was blessed with 8 children, 19 grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren. And this man of 88 years old just passed. I'm going to miss my dad, but he's back. He's in heaven with my mom. He was married 65 years to his queen, he called her.
Yeah.
And to wake up every day, I woke up in my parents' home to fresh bread coming out of the oven.
Yeah.
My dad would come home every night from work. He was a mailman at 3:30, and he would come to that back door and say, where's my queen? Ma was changing diapers or this, that. He'd find my mom, pick her up in the air. He says, I love you. I missed you so bad, Rose. Those are the memories that you can't forget.
And all I keep thinking is what an example, generation after generation. And now Vince and Emily and their beautiful 2 girls. Yeah. Legacy.
I was blessed with the best husband in the world. This man who stalked me for 5 years, and I was petrified. And through another bizarre way, we got to go to my prom.
Yeah.
But he was not
an athlete too.
Yes.
but
That's
not
where
the
I was like,
man that your parents want your daughter to be with.
Oh, well, I guess you can say
And-
that now. What has it been? 45 years of marriage? Just
Yes.
We just celebrated last 2 Fridays ago, and every
Mm-hmm.
5 years we have exchanged our vows,
Oh,
and we exchanged them again 2 Fridays ago, and then the next day, my dad and my husband's best friend, my dad, passed on to heaven. But no, I would not trade one sick year, one anything for all the money in the world. I have been blessed, husband, family, my sons, my granddaughters, my grandson. I got 2 fantastic daughter-in-laws. How could I complain? And the people that have gone back to God, I don't care what religion, since what happened to me, people have been going back to God.
that is the truth. Yeah, people reached out to me and said, "Oh my gosh, like I stopped praying for a long time. Heard your story of what was going on with your mom. This is why it was happening. Heard your story, joined the Fight Maria fight, and just took off."
I had a young girl. I used to teach PSR classes, 7th and 8th grade. Well, 7th and 8th grade kids don't even want to be there, but we were cool. And
your faith in real life. It's practical. It's how you live.
girl, like I said, I was at a hospice home where the nurses and that guy told them, go take care of sick people, And this young girl came knocking because I always made a joke with the kids. If the Indians or the basketball, any of the professional teams ever made it to championships, that's because I was dying. And the Cavs were doing real good. So I had all these kids from 20, 15 years ago coming and knocking on the door to make sure I was still alive. And this young girl came to me. She was raised by her grandpa, and she was so worried because her grandpa had lost faith in God. I says, bring him over. So he came over. We prayed. She brought him to confession that week. He confessed his sin. He got the host in the blood of our dear Lord Jesus, and he died 3 days later.
Oh, come on. Well, that's it. That's
Soul
it.
was saved.
You guys practice it your whole life, and you live it. You live it by example. So I feel like we could talk forever. I want to make sure I want to wrap it up with this, because there's so many themes that run through this book. Even adoption, right? Your brother adopted.
Beautiful.
Another huge platform of mine. I've got so many great
Absolutely.
stories waiting to be told in that. So I highly recommend y'all get this book, Fight Maria Fight. But I'm going to close it with something that I love that you wrote. You were talking about when your brother recovered, Don. It was at the time of my brother's recovery that I buried my attention on my book Hero at the time. By the way, you've written 9 books total, right?
Yes, this is number 10. Thank you.
Okay. So you're writing Hero, and it says you buried your attention on that book Hero that you're working on. It was my first. Most said it would never get published. I worked on it. It was to escape from the horrors I had seen. This became motivation to finish, and the book launched my writing career. This is my favorite part. It was the classic taking a negative and turning it into a positive. Writing can be a great escape. You so encouraged me, Vince, by your example. Take the next best step. The negatives. We call them the really God, really moments.
Yeah.
We call them, oh, really God, really. That's what we say, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't think of much more poignant, really God, really moment than your mama clinging to life. And so thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having us.
What's that, Mama?
Thank you for having us.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait to meet you in person.
Honored to be here. Yeah, and that truly was. I don't have any addictions. For me, my addiction is writing, and that's my thing, right? So I don't drink, smoke, any of that stuff. Like, my addiction is writing. And what they say, people turn to their addictions during a dark time. Well, I'm lucky. Mine was a creative one. So that's what I use. And I want to thank you for having us on. I want to let everybody know too, we're going to be at the Cleveland Holiday Market at the West Side Irish American Club. So the best way to tell you this is this Saturday from 12 to 8 o'clock, which is like a full work day, the West Side Irish American Club at 8559 Jennings Road in Olmsted Falls. I have 110 copies of the book that came in last week. So hopefully we sell through those that day. We have some fun. I'll now have my previous 9 books. As you can tell behind me, huge sports fan. I've met with pretty much every huge name in Cleveland sports history you could think of, everything from Jim Thome and Kenny Lofton and Mike Hargrove. So we'll have all of those books. Me and my mom will be there as long as she's able to and sit and tough it out with me for a little bit that day. I'll be there.
Tougher than
Yeah, I'll be there all 8 hours. And I'm honestly though, on behalf of me, my wife Emily, my mom, my dad, everybody, we just want to say thank you. And like I've always said to anybody out there, don't. And it's funny because I love that you love that last quote because that's what my whole life is about. Don't believe anybody who tells you can't do something.
That's right.
If you would have known me 10 years ago, none of this was going on. I had just gotten married, had never met, had nothing basically besides my wife and my marriage, and from there the last 10 years of my life, my God, it's been like a dream come true. So just want to thank everybody who's made that possible as well. Keon Sports Media Group, check us out. None of it goes unnoticed. We want to thank everybody who has done this for my mom, supported her, supported me. It could all, like Dawn said, guys, we are so grateful to have 2 healthy children. All of it could go away tomorrow. I pray to God it doesn't. And we just thank you so much. None of this is taken for granted, not a minute of it. Thank you.
And to let you know something, Dawn, both of my sons, I hear from both of them every day.
Reach
I
out
love
to
you,
your
Mom.
mama and your papa. Yes, if you haven't. Just say what you want to say already. Yeah.
I can't go to sleep at night and they do. They make sure if it's a text now, whatever, my sons, both of them. And what do I say to you every morning before you go to work? God bless you and God be with you.
God be with you every morning.
This is a perfect place to end. God bless you. God be with you. I'm holding up in prayer a friend of ours, Mike Phillips, who is actually on a respirator as we speak for COVID. And I can't wait until he comes out and he makes a full recovery, please God. And we show him your mama who.
What was the name? I want to put his name in my prayer list.
Would you do that? I'd be so grateful. It's Mike Phillips. Mike Phillips. He's a good man. And he the family's been up against a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do,
definitely.
Right. So I can't wait to meet you in person, both of you, yes. Vince and Maria McKee. Mama, when I see you on Saturday, I'm going to give you 44 hugs.
All right.
All right. God bless you guys.
God bless you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye now.